to how did you manage injuries when you were younger? And do you think that played into a toxic sport environment? If you were put in the same position today, like how would you manage that differently? Did you feel pressure from your coaches or staff to manage these in a way that wasn't as healthy as it should have been? And what would you tell your hard-headed self to get her um, to, to really see that an injury was an actual injury? Uh, Katie, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I was really lucky in high school for all the overtraining I was doing. I really didn't get injured. I got one bout of tendonitis at the end of my senior year track season, and I thought the world was over because I didn't know what it was, if I was hurting myself, or what I should do. State finals were coming up, and it was just very stressful. And now I would tell myself that it's fine. Like, find someone who you can talk to about it, but you've got one race. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Just don't be so stressed out about the little things and about any presence of pain. I work with a lot of people who say their Achilles hurts, and it's like the question that they ask is, am I hurting myself, and do I have to stop running? And those are in competition with each other because they don't want to hurt themselves, but they also really don't want to stop running. So it's like helping somebody through that, knowing that yes, if circumstances are right, you can have a small amount of pain in your Achilles and you're going to be fine. So I just wish I had a more measured scientific voice around to give me that advice and that care that I needed when I needed it for my musculoskeletal health. Um, and kind of going back to what just the question before, what we were talking about, who would have made that difference for you, and who would you have listened to, or what message would you have listened to back then? And that's something I think about a lot because I'm trying to be that voice and I'm trying to be that message. And how am I going to reach these girls who basically remind me so much of myself at that age? And I want that to stop them from making destructive mistakes with their training and their health. And I think back to something that happened when I was in college that reminds me that you might not be able to take the advice of that voice that you respect that's there, but someday it's going to click, and it might be a year from then, and it might be 10, 20 years from then, like it was for me. But when it does click, when that message comes together, and you really get it and things become more clear about your training or your health or how you feel about yourself or whatever, you are going to be able to look back and realize who was there for you back then and who was giving you the right advice back then, even if you couldn't absorb it or benefit from it then. And I have one person I always think about, and it is our teammate Lisa. She stopped me. We lived together, and she stopped me in the kitchen one day and said, I know what you're doing. And I've never actually told this story out loud, so I'm a little bit nervous. But she said, I know what you're doing. And I didn't know what she was talking about. And I said, what are you talking about? And I was scared. And she said, I see that you're not making the right decisions with food. I see that you're not eating enough. And I just want you to know that I see what you're doing. And I was like, no, very defensive slash just ignoring it. No, that's not true. Just trying to play it off. And I didn't think anything of it for, the rest of my college career, until I'm examining these issues now in my 30s. And I remember that conversation and it clicks. I did have someone who I respected who was saying the right thing. And I appreciate that voice now. Um, and so it makes me feel very grateful that the running careers of so many women are in her hands as a coach now. So it is a good reminder to me that because I'm trying to be that voice for somebody, they may not get it now in time to benefit from it from their running career, but they're gonna get it someday and know that somebody was in their corner, fighting for them. So that's just something that I think about a lot. Even if we can't get to somebody now, we can get to somebody in the future. We can help somebody in the future by giving them the right tools and the right information.
Yeah, I think about that a lot too, of like, especially when I'm coaching and stuff, of like, if I'm pretty sure that an athlete's not going to get what I'm saying right now, to be like, not get discouraged. I'll be like, but in a few years, this might help.
Mm-hmm.
Because there have been people in my life who've said things that at the time I couldn't absorb it at all. But yeah, be like, they were right. They were onto something. Like there was a guidepost there.
Mm-hmm.
When I took that guidepost, may not have been immediately, but yeah, I think about that a lot too.
Yeah. It's like planting a seed for somebody, and you can't see the effects. You can't see what's under the soil, but someday I that seed might grow. And that's a thread that I take through in my practice now, and trying to help people, because it can be kind of frustrating. And I to talk to people and just kind of tell they're not quite ready to take the message and the information you're giving them, when all you want to do is be like, no, I've been there. This is right. Do this. But you just have to respect that. I have to remind myself that I have to respect that not everyone is at that point where they can benefit from that message, but someday, with some work and some hope, they will. So when they do, I want to be somebody who was in their corner, giving them the information that they needed to be able to use someday.
Yeah, I really like that concept because it's something I've thought about like abstractly, but like you putting it into words, I'm like, yes, that's exactly it. And I spent a lot of time thinking about it, but hadn't been able to like have it be articulated outside of my brain.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying words.
Yeah. Well, and like you do kind of hold a lot of power to Katie, because like there's people looking up to you as being like, you have a background, you know what's going to help, what's not going to help. Like you're somebody I would listen to, even as like a younger version of myself. I think that would be, you ran in college, all this other stuff, so you have that background that young girls are going to listen to. So I think, and yeah, some of them won't, but I think a lot of them will. So you telling that and speaking to them in a way that they're going to hear you is like truly important. So,
well, I feel like this goes back too of like the time that we were in college and high school when we were those really formative years. Like there weren't a lot of like strong women that we were gonna like look up to and talk to. Like there were men around us who could be resources and everything, but it just hits different when like a strong, confident woman says the things.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
we didn't
true.
have a lot of that around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really true. I would have heard that a lot more if it was coming from a woman too.